Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, Ba'Shem Kakadash, Deborah and the apostles, and all great millstone for teaching us his truth, peace, and blessings. To the whole collective Israel, Shalom. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father in Hebrew. Ba'Shem is the name, and Yahweh Shai is the name of the begotten Son. Back on the lesson, and today we're going to go into these layoffs that we're seeing dealing with the truckers. As you see in the brother's title right here, the trucking industry collapse. And you will also see many problems arise and come from that. As you know, many truckers, transport and carry over foods, especially frozen goods, to your supermarkets, your stores that you go to. So that's also going to lead to a scarcity, of the food. As well as another video right here says people are panic buying rice as stores run out in the U.S. after, I believe, India, put a ban out. So we'll get a little bit into that, kind of go into the famine that is brewing and just the chaos that's coming, man. So I can play this quick video, this video here from the brother's channel, and then get one more from the TikTok, and that'll be that. So let's play it quick.
Guys, John here. California is about to change the entire trucking industry all throughout America. We're already starting to see it with large companies such as Yellow. They're laying off 22,000 truckers. They just got a $700 million bailout from the government, and they're unable to pay it back. They're losing money hand over fist. You have many other companies such as FedEx issuing layoffs, DHL. A lot of companies are now issuing massive layoffs in the trucking industry.
And it's not only the trucking industry that you're seeing, layoffs happening. A few months back, I believe a few months back, you had Amazon lay off tons and tons of people. And you're going to see a lot more. You're going to see a lot of businesses shut down since it's not able to, keep it open.
I think we need to pay attention to what's happening behind the scenes, because the next 4 or 5 months, as these new regulations start to roll out in California, it's going to...
And to go into that point, since you will have pretty much no people working there, people leaving the jobs and people going on strike, whatever the case may be.
Everybody nationwide, because 1/3 of all goods that come in to America are coming through Long Beach or the LA port. Look at what's going on. Form an opinion for yourself. I believe this is going to be extremely inflationary, and I think that nobody's talking about this, but soon you're not going to be able to not talk about it, because prices are about to go through the roof.
So we got that right there. We'll get this video right here too. We'll come back to that. And this is from a guy that works at Yellow, or that company that you see laying off the truckers. So let's press back.
Guys, I'm here at Yellow Freight. They just laid off all their workers. All their drivers just got laid off. It's a ghost town here. Nobody is working. It is a ghost town.
And that's why when you go into the scriptures, how the grinding shall cease. Paraphrasing, which we'll get in after that video. So
they lost their pension. The driver's been here for about 30 years, and it's just all gone. As you can see, this place is non-operational. They have loads and pallets, and it is a ghost town in here. Peace. Guys, I'm here.
It ain't you! It's these motherfuckers right here! It's the motherfuckers.
What did they expect for a man to find out he done spent 30 years, there's no pension, all the CEOs done took all the money, they're going to close the doors Monday and no job.
Yeah, they're going, that was a week ago. Another one was 5 days ago? So all pretty recent, man. Now let's go back to this right here. Now it says people are panic buying rice as stores run out in the U.S. after India announces the export ban. So I also want to push a point throughout this lesson how you're seeing pretty much a famine starting to brew. Because especially with these truckers are now being laid off, you're going to see less stores getting the goods that they need to fill and stock the shelves. And I see right here, people are panic buying as rice, or it's buying rice as stores run out in the U.S. after India announces export ban. So this is in the U.S., I believe in Texas, California, which I was watching one of the brothers' lessons going into it, but in those locations. So let's finish this off right here. And just down to that point, you're about to see a lot more of this, man. And this just goes to show the times that we are coming into. Things are going to pick up. Things are going to get worse. And people are going to resort to drastic measures in order to obtain food, in order to protect themselves, to feed their family, But listen, we will fill those points later on.
This is Tapu 7, and you were witnessing people panic buying rice after this new ban put into place by India. And you can see here in this clip long lines of people in the United
Look at that. And you most likely will have people, pretty much fighting and trampling over each other in order to get the food and things that they want. Just how you have on Black Friday, for example. You know, how you have people lined up outside the doors, waiting for the workers, the employees to unlock the door. And what do? They come flooding in, trampling over each other, punching, fighting each other to get the newest flat screen TV, with a discount, Now imagine, when it's with food. When people are hungry, when people are starving, what do you think they're going to do?
States waiting to get food. This is connected to India coming out and stating that they are going to put this large-scale ban across the board on exporting certain rices. So now all of a sudden these people panic buying, and we're seeing this on video clips being shared on social media, and it's coming from places like Texas and out of places like California, where they're seeing this firsthand. So the one clip was of a Costco. People starting to get a little crazy in there, throwing the food around, and it looks like some are seeing this as a sign that something big is on the horizon. We've warned about food shortages, and there's different things that add to them. But on the global scene, having India make a move like this is rather big. Plus, the moves that Russia's making in terms of threatening to blow up anything that comes into a Ukrainian port and then destroying all the wheat. You're talking that wheat and rice now, globally, taking a big hit. This is something to pay attention to. I'm going to break this down further on the next live stream.
Things are going down, man. And like I mentioned, one of the points I was going to bring up, a famine is brewing, man. So the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 3 through 4, which you saw in that brother's video. But what also came to mind, now it says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few. So you're about to see a lot of these businesses shut down. You're about to see less workers. As you're already seeing tons of layoffs, and you may have people also going on strike, which you see on many occasions. But in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look at the windows be darkened. It's going to be a literal ghost town, man. Businesses and everybody shutting down. I mean, going back to the year 2020, when the lockdowns were in place, people weren't able to go outside, and you had a lot of businesses, had to shut down. They weren't able to operate, And that's all you saw Edom targeted, a lot of Jake businesses and, little, family-owned businesses, whatever the case may be, in order to, pretty much knock them out. But read one more time. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look at the windows be darkened. So once you go back to these businesses shutting down, you're about to have a lot of less workers. You're already seeing tons of layoffs, people losing their jobs. So things are happening. Verse 4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets. When the sound of the grinding is low, he shall rise up at the voice of the bird. Basically grinding, pretty much putting in that work. So going to these workers and once in these businesses shutting down, man, just to bring that point home. And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So we're in some very dark times, man. And it's why we need Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai and to turn to the Lord. So I skipped one to Ecclesiastes, I think around the 5th chapter, I think the 7th verse, going to, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, make no delay. Now the second, Ezra 6 and 22, as we played that video right there, where you had those people panic buying, as you just see the look in their eyes. You had one guy with no shoes on, his bare feet, climbing on top of the stands in order to get the things that they want. So imagine coming to your last days, man, when you'll see that famine pretty much fully instilled, man. Imagine what people are going to do then. The drastic measures that they're going to take. And look what happened when the egg prices skyrocketed. Tons of people were buying them out, and pretty much I think you had even people maybe try to steal from each other in order to get those eggs. But I think I made a point when I went into that a while back, but just I was wanting to bring that up. But the second Ezra 6:22, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unto sown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. So you better see a lot of these shelves being pretty much cleaned out. And as you saw in that video, once again, all the rice that they were buying, the food. So once again, imagine what's coming these last days, because you also need to see the build up, and that was here in America. As he mentioned in the video, how it was taking place, I believe, Texas, as well as California. I think it was in I forgot the exact store he mentioned, but let's continue on. Point shall stand. Second Ezra 6:21. Now behold, victuals shall be so good cheap on earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. People still think that America is all fine and dandy, that things are not going to go bad for Babylon, for America. But as you see right here, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap on earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. You're seeing that buildup. Especially with these truckers being laid off, which they're the ones that transport the goods, frozen goods, the foods to your supermarket, your stores. Transporting the basic necessities that you need. And a lot of stores are going to be without it. So you're going to have a lot of people most likely fighting over certain things. Whatever the case may be, this goes to show the dark times that we are coming into and the buildup that we are seeing. Now, let's continue on. Got that point. Now, this is 2nd Ezra 15:49. Now, it says, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy house with destruction and death. When you go back to 2nd Ezra 15th chapter 11th to the 12th verse, goes into these plagues and pestilences that Yahweh Shemel shall set out upon this place. With a stretch of arm and a mighty hand, I shall smite each to begin with plagues as before. So the Lord is smiting this place, man. 2nd Ezra 15:49, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, which is ultimately the main point, sword, and pestilence, especially poverty, as you see a lot of people are without jobs now. So it says famine, sword, and pestilence to waste house with destruction and death. And as I mentioned in the beginning lesson, you're going to see many problems obviously arise and come from this. As you've already been seeing, tons of layoffs dealing with a lot of these different companies, Amazon. Now you're seeing dealing with the truckers, which is a severe case also. Because as I mentioned, they're the ones that transport the goods. Luke 21:25. And there should be signs in the sun and the moon and in the stars. And you also may see, a lot of these truckers go on strike. Just support their fellow brethren, in the trucking industry. Whatever the case may be, we have to see. But Luke 21:25 now says, and there should be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations. This has caused a lot of problems, especially dealing with a lot of these, talk about the words, government bodies. With perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. So a lot of people are getting sick and tired, of Esau, Edom, man. That's why you have tons of, riots taking place over there in Paris. As we have field locations, which you saw a while back. But all of this is going to show the examples that are to come. Or, a small little taste of what's coming to America. Remember time, there should be signs in the sun and moon and stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity. You saw how distressed those guys were. They lost their job, their pension. They worked for 30 plus years in that business, and now their retirement fund's all gone. So a lot of these guys are going to get angry, man. But let's see one. Got 3 more, and we'll shut down from there. Lord said, find the lesson, Lord, I'm getting the point across, and you're being edified. Now, 1 Thessalonians 5:3. Down to the point of 2nd Ezra 15. Now it says, For when there shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon the womb of a child, and they shall not escape. So there's no peace nor safety come to this place. So great destruction, it's coming to this place, as you're seeing now, dealing with these plagues, these pestilences, these judgments that you are seeing. And the Lord's going to turn it on, or you're turning up to a whole nother level, man. Kick into a whole nother gear. Read them time one time. For when there should say peace and safety, which you see in many cases where they always try to downplay and pretty much butter people, the masses up to make it seem like there's no problem. in certain cases, just, using that as an example, but for when there shall say peace and safety and sudden destruction comes upon them as shall upon the woman with child, and they shall not escape. So there's no peace, no safety coming to this place, just to get that point across. Now the second, Ezra 15 and 15 through 17. As if for the sword and the destruction draw nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. That's going to the sedition among men that is coming to this place. As you saw in that video in Texas and as well in California and these other locations where you have these people panic buying all the food. As I was mentioning, Jeremiah 30:7, last 5 days great, so I does like it, is even the times of Jacob's trouble. So we're having some very evil and scary times and dark times, man. You're going to have a lot of people turn to drastic measures in order to obtain things that they want and need, especially to feed and take care of their family. Now this is verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, shall not regard their kings nor princes, in the course of action shall stand in the power. The kings and the princes dealing with the people that are in authority, people that are in power, and the course of action shall stand in their power. And as I mentioned, you may have a lot of these truckers go on strike, and you'll ultimately have to see what else comes from it. But as I mentioned, you will see many problems arise from it, as you already see. Those truckers carry lots of goods to a lot of stores, so that's a problem right there. Verse 17, a man shall desire going to a city, shall not be able. Going to go into these lockdowns and just ultimately double shutting this place down. Applying that pressure, but shut down second as 9:1 through 4. He answered me then and said, measure time diligently in itself. How do we measure times that we're in? By the way, these signs and these prophecies. And guess what? We're nearing the end of this place, man. And when thou seest part of signs past which I've told thee before, then shalt thou understand that at the very same time when the highest will begin to visit the world which he made, which would be by the way of our Lord Yahweh Shai. Excuse me. Now, so therefore, when should be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. So as you're seeing the tensions, amongst the nations, especially against the government, you had a poll that was taken a while back, where you had people voting to take up arms to pretty much go against the government. And as well as many scriptures go into how once your nation is divided amongst each other, and especially against the government, against the nation, then that's a problem. That's why scripture go into how, if Satan be divided against himself, how shall then his kingdom stand? With paraphrasing. And you see a lot of people getting sick and tired of the government, as well as a lot of these businesses. As you saw that video we played, how mad those Jakes were, that the 30 years that they worked is pretty much came to nothing. Verse 4, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake those things from the days before thee, even from the beginning. So just going to show we're near the end of this place. Just wanted to, a couple scriptures that came to mind, because you are seeing just the dark times that we are coming into and the many situations that could arise from this and ultimately are to come. Because this is just a example and a step towards more things to happen. But pretty much the main point. It's like if I kind of rambled a little bit, but Lord will, I tied the points together best of my ability. But as you see, many things are happening, and ultimately wanted to dive into the famines that are brewing, especially that you have those people buying out all the rice and certain foods since India put out that ban across the board. So things are going down, man, especially dealing with these truckers being laid off. A lot of people lost their jobs, so we're going to see what ultimately else comes out from it. Because as I mentioned earlier, most times throughout this lesson, a lot of these truckers carry many goods, frozen foods to a lot of these supermarkets and stores, and now you're gonna have a lot less of that. So many problems will arise, man. But Lord's edifying lesson. I do want to give all praises, all honor, and glory to Yahweh B'Shem Shai, B'Shem Kakadash, Deborah unto the apostles, and El's great millstone for teaching us his truth, peace, and blessings to the whole collective of Israel. And Shalom. See you next one. Lord willing.